We know that you would never think it would be possible, but two narcissists can fall in love or become great friends. Narcissists have a tendency to find other narcissists and form an untraditional bond. With narcissists having an overload of need to fulfill their ego, you would think they would only need someone who they feel is weaker than they are. Someone who will give them the attention and praise they need, but it is not always the case. At times, narcissists are drawn to other narcissists and they can form a relationship. Is it a true bond, and are they not just using the other person to inflate their ego? We will help answer that question. This video is going to let you know everything you need to know about what happens when a narcissist becomes romantically involved with, or becomes friends with, and collides with another narcissist. Number 1. Two narcissists become friends. It can be hard to imagine a narcissist having legitimate friends. This can be due to the fact that it seems hard to please a narcissist and they are considered antisocial. Narcissists usually have a tendency to keep to themselves, other than their scapegoat. Looking at a narcissist who befriends another narcissist, we ask the question, how? What we mean by this is, how can the friendship work and what can be the result of this friendship? What we can answer is that many professionals believe that if a person finds themselves befriending and accepting a narcissist so easily, it is usually because that person befriending the narcissist has narcissistic tendencies as well. The answer is that they seem to be more tolerant and understanding of the behavior, so it can create an easier friendship. The result of this friendship can be very dangerous. Already knowing that narcissists are very persuasive, we can predict that these friends will persuade others to be their scapegoats. They can project their hostile and negative feelings onto others using their charm. It has been said that adult males have a higher chance of finding a narcissistic friend to match their personality types, since both friends seek approval over everything they do and manipulate people into getting what they want. The narcissistic friends don't have to worry about being judged by the other. They can be themselves completely, something most narcissists do not get to do. This can create more power within the circle. This never-ending freedom they get, and the friend never attempting to correct the behavior, can lead to bigger manipulation and more scapegoats. Number 2. When a narcissist dates another narcissist. Usually when you date a person and you two truly care about one another, you put each other on a high pedestal. You give each other compliments, think greatly of one another, and praise each other for doing great things. What will happen if two narcissists begin to date? Narcissists have a problem praising others genuinely. They can manipulate and make others believe they can when they don't. So what is the result of a relationship consisting of two narcissistic people? Well, some professionals claim that what attracts them to the other person is how similar they are. This goes back to the underlying self-absorbed attitude that narcissists have. They like to look for partners that remind them of themselves. If they pick a partner that is like them, then they believe that they have made a great choice. One thing to point out, though, is that narcissists have a problem expressing their feelings, as many of them do not have any to express. So, what can be the end result of two expressionless people having a romantic relationship? Well, many professionals believe that they will end the relationship abruptly or they will stay together unhappily. Many narcissists who marry other narcissists will stay in the relationship just to show to themselves and the other that they did not fail in something. Many people see a relationship falling apart or has fallen apart as a failure in life. Narcissists do not believe in letting others see these vulnerable times. The relationship, if it ends, will usually do so dramatically. With such headstrong similar attitudes, it can be hard to determine who was at fault, when it is usually both. Another problem that two narcissistic people can face while dating is that the boredom will grow. By that, we mean that eventually one or both of them will get bored of the relationship and want to move on. When they become aware that the other person cannot change and will not become submissive to the abuse, they will want to move on to someone else. Another problem relationships face is that they begin to almost compete with each other. They will want to prove who is the better partner, and because of their pride, the relationship has a tendency to fail. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you've learned something new today. Number 3. When two narcissists argue. It can be tough to watch an argument between two narcissistic people. What we mean is that it will be a long time of blaming one another and never compromising. and there may not be an actual resolution to the problem. Narcissists are very well known for not admitting their faults and allowing others to see that they are not perfect. So when an argument breaks out, who is truly to blame? Most people would answer, both, of course. We can agree. They do things to each other that any narcissist would do to a scapegoat or a non-narcissistic partner: bully, belittle, gaslight, and emotionally drain. This causes extreme toxicity within the relationship. Whether the relationship is a friendship or more intimate, it can cause a strain on the relationship. If we are discussing work-related relationships, let's say between an employee and boss, the boss and the employee both are narcissists, and the employee does a really good job at manipulating the boss and getting to do what they want. But as soon as the argument breaks out, the boss will belittle or bully the employee. Of course, that will probably lead to the employee getting fired because the boss doesn't want any strikes against their ego. The argument can be more about harming each other's feelings rather than trying to prove a point. Narcissists will also keep the argument going because neither one wants to be the one to back down. The idea of arguing between two narcissistic people is power. They want power in the problem, and they want to keep their power. They want to keep their ego inflated as much as possible. Number 4, when two narcissistic people become parents. It can be tough growing up, but it can be even more tough growing up with two narcissistic parents. How does it work in the household when both parents are narcissists? The probability of having two narcissistic parents is around 0.25%. It's a small chance, but it does happen. When two narcissistic parents are raising a child, it can mean a few things. 1, the child is going to be scapegoated by both parents, and the two narcissists will blame that child for anything that goes wrong. 2, the narcissist won't be able to parent properly because they will be arguing with each other over who is the better parent and why. Lastly, the child will have to eventually raise themselves because the parents are incapable of caring for another person. To go into detail on each account, we must first discuss two parents and the scapegoat. When you have two parents with narcissistic personality traits, the child is going to get the bad end of the stick, due to the fact that neither parent will ever take blame for any trauma or something else happening in the house. They will drop the blame on the child. If the child is not like them or does not meet their expectations, they will be made into the black sheep. The two parents will usually try to be better at scapegoating the kid and make it into a competition. When you have narcissistic parents, it is almost guaranteed that they will fight over who is better. They have to keep their ego inflated as much as possible. Their main focus will move from the child and their needs to fulfilling the needs of each other. Since in most relationships involving two narcissists, their needs are never truly met. With that said, we can assume that the child will have to take care of themselves. Which brings us to the next point. Eventually, the child will have to end up raising themselves. Narcissists have problems caring for another person, especially one with many needs like a child. The narcissistic parents will eventually grow bored of having to care for the child and teach the child how to do things on their own. Once the child can do everyday normal things for themselves, the narcissistic parents will slowly ease their way out of the child's care. This can be hard to imagine for normal parents. They usually want to do as much for their children as they can and let them grow up to be independent. Not narcissists. They want to teach their children independence as early as possible. Narcissism in parenting can show in other forms too. Two narcissistic people having children can care for their child and do things for them, but they will focus on how they look more than what they need. An example would be that the parents can get their hair and nails done or new additions to their vehicles, but they won't take their children to the eye doctor or the dentist. They will still cater to the child's needs such as food and hygiene, but they lack doing things for the child outside of the home. This is a common form of abuse by narcissistic parents. And if you liked this video, then check out these related videos to see more. And make sure to subscribe and leave a comment saying, "I subscribed," and we will personally reply to your comment.